All right, yo. Word of the week. Toronto man's word of the week is bean. And although it can be referred to flicking one for pleasure, bean is basically a wasting. You're a bean fam. What's up, fam? It's your boy Demuir here, purveyor of all sounds underground. Thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel today, where I'll be discussing the topic of how to build a credible fan base in underground electronic music. But before we jump into things, what I need from you is that SLC. Hit subscribe, like, comment, and more importantly, hit the notifications bell to stay in touch with the new videos that we have up and coming. All right, so this video, before I get into the details, is definitely not for those who are down with commercial electronic dance music, commercial EDM. Definitely not for people who don't want to put the work in. It's definitely not for people who think that they can just get by on a few ghost productions and hopefully score a hit and land a bunch of plays, and that will blow up their profile, so to speak. So if you're one of those people, just shut this off from now and kick rocks, fam. All right, so one of the key reasons why I'm making this video is because it's a question I often get asked. And I get asked this question because I think a lot of people realize it's not just a function of me having been in the production game for some time. You got to remember I've taken like 10 years off of this thing and returned just after 2010 to just re-engage myself in the industry before going full-time with this. So I get asked this question, like, how do you build a credible fan base? So the points I'm going to share with you are condensed points from a presentation I've done on this matter, and I'm happy to share the details of that if you want to connect with me and we can discuss how we can go about setting up a one-on-one coaching session. That's cool. Just get at me on either one of my social media outlets. All right, so point number one is to first and foremost accept that this is going to be work that requires consistency. There's just no other way around it. I know a lot of people talk about, buying subscribers and, being an influencer and all of that and making sure your Instagram and perception is everything are aligned. It's bullshit. Get rid of that notion straight away. You're going to have to put some work in, and you're going to have to do it with consistency. So that's point number one, and there's no other way to sugarcoat that one. It's just fact. And point number two, if there wasn't a point number one, I certainly would have put this first, which is to have good music, but strive for great music. It's simply much better. It's a music that gets you the invitation to the party, in all circles. If you don't have good music, or great music for that matter, for people to want to be interested in and play it, those people being, people who are full-time at this thing or hobbyists or whatever, if you don't have people who want to connect and anticipate your music, then there's simply no point. So this is probably one of the foremost important points here, is to make good music, but strive for something that's great at all times. Point number three, this is an important one, and as you might have figured out already, next to integrity, a part of my values is to not listen to people who haven't done what you're looking to achieve. We got a lot of people out there, especially in the marketing and PR game. It's kind of disheartening, so to speak, because they just play on the FOMO thing, with new and aspiring DJs and producers trying to make something out of themselves, and they just sort of kneel on, this desire to build this great fan base. But when you sort of peel behind it, you realize that they haven't really done any of this shit at all. They haven't created a series of songs. They haven't signed to a series of credible labels and work with managers and other agencies and build a reasonable tastemaker, email list for contacts and know how to spin that around and make it valuable to you as an artist. Just don't listen to these people at all. They got lots to say, And some of the ideas are a little cute, I must admit. A lot of the trend seems to be build a Spotify playlist, or make sure you're building playlists regularly, and make sure you ask your fans to save and pre-order. All of that bullshit. Trust me, it doesn't work, because they haven't done the shit before, and they're just really good at telling other people what to do based on the things that they actually haven't done. And point number 4, PR is really good for tastemaker contacts. And that's really about it. So what do I mean by tastemaker? So tastemakers are basically those professional DJs and producers who are actually in this with consistency. They have a regular stream going on. They're clubbing, usually playing different gigs around the world. They're fully engaged, or they're journalists involved with electronic music, or bloggers that regularly and consistently look for new and upcoming and exciting music to either play or talk about. So PR is great for that, because they help manage those relationships, and over time they have a really nice stock of email contacts that you can benefit from. And I don't think it hurts to engage a PR firm to say, hey, I want to run 2 campaigns with you to push out some music. If you don't already have these email contacts already, I think it's a great way to get your music in the hands of some credible people. Normally, some of these campaigns run anywhere from 200 to 500 US, depending on the quality of their email list, and they'll let you know readily. And point number 5 is to make sure your music gets into the hands of credible people. And by credible, I'm talking about, people who are part of the tastemaker group that I just mentioned in my last point, and just those who are consistent with it, have, a game for themselves going on either locally or online, for that matter, with regular streams. Make sure you're paying attention to those people. So, for example, if I chart your song, and I tag you in it, be sure to repost that and really blow it up. And it's not just me necessarily, but I'm using me as an example of someone who's in this full time, and it's not, some sort of hobby to them. Like, this is what I do each and every day. So if there's music that I like and I've charted and I put it on Beatport or whatever, and your stuff is on there, blow it up. Also anticipate for those professionals that are regularly putting out Beatport charts and playlists, to hit those people up with new music that you have, if there is some sort of relationship. So I'll get more into what constitutes a relationship, but definitely make sure, when you see those tags, you're tagging people, or even if someone sends you video of someone playing your track, put the video up, tag the person that's playing your track, and enjoy it, and because it lets people know that people are acknowledging your music from a credible perspective, and it's just another piece of marketing that will work very well for you. And point number 6 dovetails a little off of point number 5, which is to always engage. And it doesn't matter what level you believe you're at in this game. I always engage people who take the time to actually acknowledge and play my music and go through the process of actually including it as part of their curation, whether it's in a mix or on a chart that they've put up on Beatport or whatever. I acknowledge it, and although I'm not a huge Spotify fan, I will repost that stuff, because it's not necessarily about Spotify, the platform. It's all about the engagement with the individual that has sought my music out, that said, yo, I'm here for it, I'm down for it. You will never be too big to say thank you to someone. Always remember that. And point number 7, this is the whole concept of social proof, which is to not pay for plays. I cannot discourage this anymore. I've signed artists to my label who unfortunately probably have a management team and some PR people in their camp that have taken a link to the song off of my label on SoundCloud and then blown it up with ridiculous plays, which don't make sense because the page only has just, I think we have under 900 followers for Purveyor Underground. And then to see some songs with over 2,000, 5,000 plays just out of nowhere, like, it just makes no sense. And some people can argue with me and say, well, we have a pretty big network too, and, you know, it all adds up at the end of the day. You know, if we got like X amount of streams on Spotify or 200,000 followers or whatever on Spotify. And I'm just like, nah, makes no sense to me, because people, I do believe, can genuinely see the insincerity of trying to pay for plays to push towards the concept of social proof. And the concept of social proofing is basically when you go on a site and you see, you know, a song that has 10 plays versus 100, you automatically think through social proofing that the song with 100 plays is the one that is bomb. And it couldn't be any more worse and false, you know, in terms of its comparison against the truth. I really despise this stuff because I think at the end of the day, it just makes you as an artist look stupid. Everyone knows what you're doing, so why don't you just put your focus and attention into making better and consistent music for the masses? All right, so we're going a little overboard with the points, but these are important ones to keep in mind in terms of building out your fan base. So point number 8 is to always showcase your music at any opportune time. And what I mean by this is if you are given an opportunity to do a guest mix, or you're going to start your own streaming show, make sure you're throwing some tracks of your own in there. It only makes sense. I do this to this day. And some people would say, well, you don't necessarily need to do that. No, you absolutely need to do it, because if you don't do it for yourself, who's going to do it for you? So whether it's a Beatport chart, I'm making sure I'm charting some of my stuff, or if I got a mix opportunity, I'll throw in some of my own tracks. And some of them aren't necessarily tracks that I have coming or even formally released. They can just be things I'm working on, but it's my sound. And when I do a track list or whatever, I just note it's Demuir and it's a promo or whatever. And it just tells people like, wow, okay, this person is active, they're right into their art, they're confident with their ability. And it's just important that you showcase that at any given moment in time whenever the opportunities present itself. And point number 9, which is to not necessarily mind or pay awesome attention to the Spotify algorithm. I think it's just such a waste of time. You know, for those of you that don't know, I've went as far as pulling off the entire catalog for my label Purveyor Underground off of the platform, because it's really a platform with an algorithm that benefits a selected few. And unless you're in pop music and you're a lazy ass, or you love commercial EDM for underground electronic music, I'm here to say it doesn't matter. The other example I can use is when I returned to music, SoundCloud was the Spotify at the time. Everybody was like, yo, you got to get up on SoundCloud and make sure you got enough followers so when the promoters see the shit, oh, they'll be all over you and book you everywhere. And I'm here to say it's all bullshit. Don't listen to any of that. It's complete bullshit. As long as you have exceptional and great music, and that's why I was saying if you're lazy and are into commercial EDM, all that bullshit PR and, you know, paying for plays and minding the algorithm on Spotify is pertinent to you. So go for it. Do your thing. But when it comes to underground electronic music, because it's so niche and so specific, people will eventually find who you are if you're making credible music, exceptional music. And that's why we get into this thing. If you're a person that feels like, well, I'm mainly a DJ and I don't want to produce, well, that's a whole other discussion we're not going to cover off here. I'm just talking about building a fan base, assuming you are a DJ and producer. And I'm telling you, you don't got to worry about all those algorithm and other bullshit things. And here's another point I'm going to add to this outside of my SoundCloud argument, because man, there's still people on there who paid for all their SoundCloud followers with like 12,000 up to over 100,000 plus followers, and here's little piddly old me with 5,300 followers, and I played the same gigs or more than some of these people who paid for those results. So I'm here to tell you, you don't need it. Just focus on the music. And point number 10 is a somewhat of a spin-off of point number 9. Bandcamp followers are absolutely amazing people. Not even extend that to people who will go as far as subscribing to your Patreon or looking for you on new platforms like Audius are the only ones you need to concern yourself with. And here's why. Those followers or subscribers will always tell somebody else about your music. Those followers or subscribers are extremely loyal, to really underscore the point. And because of their loyalty, will always go the extra mile when it comes to anything involving your music. So they become cheerleaders, so to speak, of your music and or platform, and they attract other people to the same platform as a result. So again, if you go back to the whole thing on the whole Spotify algorithm, Spotify doesn't do that shit for you. They don't try and say, oh, who are your loyal people, and try and get them all involved and amplify stuff. People will say, oh, but it's a better discovery tool. Yeah, but let me give you an example here with my Bandcamp, or actually my YouTube. So I started this YouTube channel just right into the thralls of the pandemic. Probably had just over 400 or 500 subscribers, and that was just because I was posting stupid little clips of stuff I was working on in the studio. And then when we took a concentrated effort to provide content and tie people back to my music, the growth on this page has been well over 500%. So that is one example. Bandcamp I never really paid attention to until the pandemic, but as I started getting my masters back, easily, I'd say over 3 months now, it's gone from no people to almost 300 followers. And I give them incentives, promo codes, and these are people who will be loyal to the bone, and they'll say take my money in the process, and they will always support your tunes and market it effectively by telling others. And last but not least is point number 11, which is to work with labels that give you access to certain marketing things that aren't in your arsenal. So let's take the tastemaker piece as an example. When I returned to music, got on SoundCloud, and it was all about the SoundCloud stuff, I was like, geez, like, how am I going to get my music into the hands of the right people to blow up my SoundCloud profile? That was the thinking. The thinking was, how am I going to get this good music or great music off to the right people? And then it just hit me. I was like, well, get onto the labels that already have those networks, and that will automatically by default use PR and tag people through those tastemakers to expose your music, because here's what happens. When tastemakers come across really good to great music, they will take the quick amount of time, like they'll make a note and say, okay, not only am I going to give this person some dope feedback, which is part of the benefit of getting onto labels who have this type of network, the feedback reports on songs that you have released with the label. You get to see who's really into your music and then have a reason to engage them later on. But let me go back to my original point. Tastemakers will seek you out. I remember getting an email early in my career from Honey Dijon saying, yo, she literally sent me a message saying, yo, your music is fire emojis, send me some more stuff ongoing. And we have that relationship now, that was back in 2014. Now, fast forward to 2021. What does Honey do? She plays one of my edits of WAP on a Beatport Absolute Vodka stream. And I didn't even ask her to do it. She played it because we have that established relationship between tastemaker and aspiring DJ and producer. I know I've done a number of things since then, but a part of this is included going after labels that have the established network, and then slowly over time just evaluating things and making sure I have those right solid relationships in place to help build my fan base ultimately. And that's really what it's all about at the end of the day. And there you have it. Those are my thoughts on some practical tips in helping you build your fan base in the underground electronic dance music industry. Let me know your thoughts on it by commenting. I usually join the conversation within 48 hours of posting these videos. And don't forget, the conversation doesn't have to stop here. We have a growing and ever talkative Discord channel where there's a lot of other aspiring DJs and producers, and it's actually grown. I can comfortably say close to about 100 other people in this last month. And it's just been great to see people talk about gear, tips on production and DJing and things of that nature. And then there is my Patreon, where you can subscribe and also become a part of our ongoing contests. We have a few contests in play right now. First and foremost is the remix contest involving Phil Weeks and myself with a track called To Be a Star, where if your submission wins, which is due by May 14th, you get to release on Purveyor Underground with both of us. So I love creating those types of opportunities. And then we're also giving away a Korg vocal bass, an Arturia Micro Freak once we hit certain milestones on our Patreon site. So check it out. Much love and respect to you. Peace.